With the fifth pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Sean Taylor, safety, University of Miami.
Thought so. And hello, Detroit.
Just a little on Friday.
The San Diego Chargers and the New York Giants have exchanged their draft picks.
But right now, how about Sean Taylor? Huh? He's as high a safety as you've graded the last 15 years?
In the end, Chris, yes, he was. And I think in the end, I think it's about that lineage at Miami. You go back to Benny Blades, Darrell Williams, and Ed Reed, and the level he took that position to at Miami. And the fact of the matter is, at 6'2", 227 pounds, can run like a corner, and he's that tough physical safety, everybody compared to Ronnie Lott. And I think you look at this division, what Joe Gibbs and the Redskins have to deal with in Jeremy Shockey. It's expressed to me that, hey, we have a guy in Sean Taylor now for the Redskins that can match up against Jeremy Shockey and negate all the skills that he brings to the table. So this is a guy who has multi-dimensional talent. And I've said it before when we're discussing the Elite Six players, the passion for the game of a Ray Lewis. And Ray Lewis single-handedly elevated that Raven football team, not just the defense. I think the Redskins hope that he will make everybody around him better. That's a sign of a truly great player. And because of that, a safety, normally not this high, that's a special quality that I believe allowed Sean Taylor to go up. And the fact he had 10 INTs and 13 pass breakups. This guy is a ball hawk in that secondary. When he comes through with the interception, a former running back in high school, he can do some damage. He can get you great field position or take it all the way for the touchdown. This kid is thinking big play all the time. He's a little sloppy tackling this past year. Shoulder injury. Quincy Wilson, West Virginia, did a good job breaking tackles. That's not the normal Sean Taylor. When he's at 100%, he's healthy. He is a complete player, and he is going to add to a defense that already has Cornelius Griffin, Marcus Washington linebacker, and Sean Springs cornerback coming in through free agency.
And just for Michael, he's from the U. He's from the University of Miami, one of what could be a record-breaking 6 first-round selections we could have. Can you smell what the Lions and Browns have been cooking?
With the sixth pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, acquired from the Detroit Lions, the Cleveland Browns select Kellen Winslow, tight end, University of Miami.
Well, we'll get the details on the trade in a minute. I will tell you one thing, Mort, that Detroit had a dead heat, and you could be happy with all of them. Sean Taylor, Kellen Winslow, Roy Williams. If that's true, you go down one spot, you pick up something, and you get a similar player.
Well, no, as we know, Cleveland was talking to the Giants about getting up to get Kellen Winslow. And as you mentioned, Roy Williams, actually for Matt Millen, had a higher grade last year than Charles Rogers had he come out. And, of course, the Lions took Charles Rogers. One other note here, though. If Detroit uses this pick, obviously it'll be Roy Williams. And there's no question that the Jacksonville Jaguars are trying to get up to this spot again to try and take Roy Williams.
All right, let's give Kellen Winslow II his due. His father was one of the all-time greats, not only at tight end. Hey, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They've been playing football, professional football, since 1920. There's about 200 guys in there. He's one of them. So, again, you talk about a pedigree like a Manning. Right?
He fits in that same mold. You know you got a great football player with Kellen Winslow II. I was surprised Washington didn't take him because I could dream of looking at Vernon Carey at wide receiver with Kellen at tight end and the running back, Clinton Portis. A lot of guys right there. But in Cleveland, of course, Butch Johnson. Butch, he knows a lot about him, the head coach for the Cleveland Browns. He knows a lot about this guy. This guy, you see his father right there, he can play football.
Yeah, look, Kellen, hey, you know what? And Mel would talk about him. Just a tight end holding up a #1 jersey with Cleveland Browns. Not only you think Kellen Winslow, who was his dad,
Oz comes.
You think of Ozzie, no question about it. And then I think when you look at Kellen Winslow Jr., a Miami Hurricane, as Michael Irvin said, and Butch Davis passed on Clinton Portis a few years ago to take William Green, paid the price for that. He wanted a Hurricane. The only way he was going to get one was to move up. And I think when you look at this team in this position, they have nothing of quality coming back. 4 tight ends, none of which are starter material. Garcia, the new quarterback, Jeff Garcia, is going to go to the tight end. And you look at Kellen Winslow Jr., an underrated blocker. He can at least, I think, do an adequate job in that area, but he has that approach of, I'm a dominator, I'm a presence. People say, well, it's an arrogance. Well, hey, that's what I want great players to have. They want the football. He was not fed the ball as much this past year as he really should have. Only had 1 touchdown reception. That came in the first game. I think the quarterback situation, going from Ken Dorsey to Brock Berlin, hurt Winslow, but when you saw the spectacular catches and the ability there, look at that athleticism. Remarkable. This kid is much more than a tight end. You watch him game after game when he had a quarterback who looked his way, and here, Berlin, and this was a 4th down play that saved the day. This is a catch, a clutch catch that Kellen Winslow Jr. makes time and time again. Looks a little careless with the football in the open field at times. Kind of becomes a running back. Gets that ball outside. You can strip it some. He's got to work on that with the Cleveland Browns, but they get a hurricane, and they don't pay the price like they did a few years ago when they passed on Portis over William Green.
Did Butch recruit him?
Let's not forget that Butch Davis knows this group of Miami players better than any coach because he recruited Winslow and, of course, this entire class.
And what Cleveland needs, they need a guy that just loves to play the football game. They deserve that. Get that new dog pound going.
Hey, look, and Jeff Garcia, all right, let me get to him for a minute. You know, people, he's not that good. Wait a minute. It's cold. He didn't have a strong... I mean, he played and won a Grey Cup in Calgary. You know, he played in San Francisco. I don't see those things happening necessarily with the 49ers in the next year. Just what I'm saying is, for a quarterback like Garcia, who admittedly is not, you know, Randall Cunningham, 80-yard rainbows, what a perfect idea to have a tight end like Kellen Winslow.
Well, we've heard Steve, we have heard Steve Young even say, I want to put this one on my, we've heard Steve Young say he would prefer a Pro Bowl tight end over a Pro Bowl receiver.
But Steve was lying because he had Jerry Rice. He was just joking.
But
he had Jerry
Steve
Rice.
says that. Peyton Manning will tell you how valuable a great tight end is. Of course, Troy Aikman will tell you how valuable a great tight end is, like he had with Jay Novacek.
For most quarterbacks, when all else fails, I got a guy at the tight end position that I can just toss the ball to, and he's always in my view. So the tight end position is a very important.
Michael.
Oh, by the way, the Jet fans are revving up, and the pick is coming in quickly. Defensive speed.
They got to take Jonathan Vilma, don't they?
Yes.
Don't they?
Yes. Unless they like the other linebacker better. I think Fred Flintstone's about to be teed up.
With the 12th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Jonathan Vilma, linebacker, University of Miami.
Too many Hurricanes going too early. Too many Hurricanes in this draft.
They are can't-miss players.
Look, the Jets have had at linebacker some players who have been really outstanding for a long time. Mo Lewis, Marvin Jones. Gone. You know, Sam Coward, not with. This is prime need. Speed, linebacker, and as Fred Flintstone would say, Vilma! How is he, Mel?
Chris, I tell you what, he's the most distinctive linebacker to come out in years, and I think the debate is, and Jets going to say, why not trade down and get Vilma well? 17's Denver, 18's New Orleans, 19's Minnesota, and 21's New England all could look at linebacker as one of their top 2 need areas. Jonathan Vilma, you talk about tackles, 133 as a junior, 127 this past season, but this past season he was more of a force in the backfield. 12 stops behind the line of scrimmage. He sifts through traffic. Having Vince Wilfork and company up front certainly helped him. But here's a guy that has to be protected by the defensive lineman. Dwayne Robertson is a key guy. Needs to come through big time for the New York Jets. You look at 6'1", 225 to 230. Not real big, but I tell you what, if those defensive linemen do their job and he can float to the football, he's fast. Now, I questioned Victor Hobson last year. Didn't have a lot of speed. He'll start. Now you get speed with Jonathan Vilma, something the Jets desperately need at the linebacker position.
Yeah, they couldn't make the plays last year, right? They could not make the plays.
To not get to the football. This kid gets to the football, and as I said, we talked about Dwayne Robertson. The Jets were bold last year. They traded up for Robertson, a little slow coming around. He needs to have a breakout year and create a disturbance and wreak havoc inside to allow Jonathan Vilma and the rest of those linebackers to do their job. But I'll tell you what, Vilma, you look at a guy that was on the rise because a lot of teams, even this morning, were saying, hey, some teams, like I say, 17 to 21 in that area, we're going to look at this kid.
Well, as
Chris, linebacker, running back are definitely need areas.
With the 17th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select DJ Williams, linebacker, University of Miami.
Just as Mel was just talking about, John Mobley, Ian Gold, you have those problems there, and linebacker was a need. Running back, wide receiver, linebacker were the need for the Broncos. Let's say something about Mike Shanahan real quick before we get to this. Mike Shanahan has been a masterful offensive coach in this league for a long time. Since they've won the 2 Super Bowls, when John Elway left and Terrell Davis got hurt, he has seen the New England Patriots and defense in this league dominate. Thus, Clinton Portis gets traded for a Champ Bailey. and they take a DJ Williams here over a Steven Jackson, it tells you that he knows his defense has got to become more dominant to get back to the Super Bowl.
And overall, I think Mort finding players in the first round. You go back to Deltha O'Neal, disappointment. He's now in Cincinnati. Willie Middlebrooks was a bust. And you look at George Foster last year, still coming around. I think you look at this particular player, DJ Williams, a little bit risky because of this reason. He was a former running back coming into Miami. Certainly when you look at what he did at the high school level, was an outstanding player on both sides of the ball, but a running back, fullback, initially fullback at Miami. Turns out to be a weak side linebacker, can play on the strong side or the weak side in the National Football League at 6'1", 250. Speed, that's his forte. Certainly a great athlete. Is he as instinctive as Vilma? No, he's not. Does he sift through traffic like Vilma? No, he doesn't. So I think DJ Williams is still a work in progress because of the fact he was, as I said early in his career at Miami, a running back. Does he have upside? Does he have talent? Yes, he does. But you'd have to say he's a roll of the dice this early. He played against top competition. That's the play he makes against Rand Carthon and the Florida Gators. But a guy that I think, when you compare, and everybody tried to compare and contrast Vilma, DJ Williams. DJ Williams bigger at 6'1", 250. Vilma 6'1", 225. But instinctively, Vilma got to the football, I thought, a lot better than DJ, and that's why Vilma went a little higher. They need him with Gold situation injury-wise and Mobley Mort, but this is a pick that I think when we look back, we'll have to see how he develops in the NFL if he's coached up at the linebacker position.
With the 19th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, acquired from the Minnesota Vikings, the Miami Dolphins select Vernon Carey, guard from the University of Miami.
All right, first question. Well, all right, we'll talk about the player first. Did they have to come up to do that? Although they need to change their offensive line. It was clearly a weakness last year.
When Sean Andrews went off the board, Vernon Carey just went up in value. In fact, the Minnesota Vikings liked Vernon Carey over Sean Andrews, so the Dolphins went up and had to get this guy. That was the greatest need.
The thing about Vernon Carey is more versatility. He played guard. Of course, he had the ankle injury as a senior, which hampered him, but as a junior at right tackle. And you think about McIntosh and St. Clair coming over. Big question marks about right tackle. You have Wade Smith over on the left side. You have Whitley at the one guard spot. You have McKinney at center. And then you have Geno James coming over from Carolina. Good acquisition at the other guard spot. But now all of a sudden you get a right tackle in Carey, who, as I said, as a junior, MVP on the offensive side in 5 games that junior year against Florida State, Florida, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. Battle-tested against top competition. As I said, had that ankle injury. He even played left tackle, filled in for Bryant McKinney against Virginia Tech when McKinney got hurt in that game. He's played all 4 spots on the offensive line except for center. As Mort mentioned, at Miami, he'll be in that mix with McIntosh, St. Clair for that starting right tackle job in a completely restructured offensive line.
With the 21st pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Vince Wilfork, defensive lineman, University of Miami.
I'm doing great.
Good. That's good.
Really?
Is that
The rich get richer. That's what it is. The rich get richer.
Who's done the draft better than them lately?
Well, it's not only that, though. There are teams that if you sit down at the bottom of the draft, everybody says, oh, we're never going to get a player. Players always fall. Udeze fell to the Minnesota Vikings. Wilfork has fallen to the New England Patriots. But it's not such a terrible area to be drafting
Right,
in.
but players pan out towards the bottom of the draft. Players like Wilfork, because they go to a program where the pros teach them how to be pros. This is how we work. That's what would be great for
What are you talking about?
He's a big guy. In New England, they will teach him how to become a professional football player, and he won't have a weight problem because in New England, they work hard. Mike Warsick, the strength and conditioning coach there, will have him ready. We'll have him ready.
And, Michael, you look at Keith Traylor, and you compare Vince Wilfork to Traylor. Short arms, and he'll miss a tackle every now and then because of that. But I'll tell you what, athletically gifted. His weight was estimated to be 350, what have you, 355, 360. He was 323 at the Combine, 320-23 during his individual, then 328 a few weeks before the draft. So he's maintained that weight at a level which can maximize his ability in the NFL. 6'1.5", a kid who ran in the 4.98 to 5.03 range. And I'll tell you what, you go back to this year, Florida game, 8 tackles and a sack, 6 hurries, and a fumble recovery against Florida State. Productive, and I think what a lot of people really like about Vince Wilfork is this. You talk about stamina and durability. He was on the field for 55, 58 plays in a lot of games, more than Tommy Harris was. And I think people look at that weight and say it's a concern, but I'll tell you what, he showed stamina. He played into the fourth quarter, didn't wear down. Miami of Florida now with 6 first-round draft. I believe that's 19 over the last 4 years.
Here it is. Let's just go down this and we'll continue. So, Mike, the Miami Hurricanes with 19 first-round picks, as Mel mentioned, in the last 4 years. 6 today, breaking the record of last year. Brian McKenzie, Jeremy Shockey, Philip Buchanan, Ed Reed, and Mike Rome. And 1968 USC with Ron Yeri, now a Hall of Famer, Mike Taylor, Tim Rosevich, who ate glass bottles, Mike Hull, and wide receiver Earl McCullough. This is a new record for Miami. All right, so off New England for a minute. How can they not win the national title every year with 19 guys in the first 4?
They win most of the time, except when they're taking them from us in Ohio State.
Well, I have told this story before in the last couple of years. When Butch Davis left the University of Miami to go become the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, I asked him, was it a tough decision? He said, Chris, a very tough decision, because I know, based on the recruiting we have done here at Miami, I'm leaving maybe 3 national championships right here in Miami to go coach in the NFL.
You know, I forgot about Traylor, too. So Wilfork is called Baby Shaq, right? Miami, that's his nickname, Baby Shaq. Keith Traylor is Baby Ted. So if a couple of babies grow up real fast.
Big babies.